Okay, so let's just jump right in. How on earth do you even begin to wrap your head around a story that's over 3,000 years old? I mean, we're talking about a history that spans the entire globe, triumphs, tragedies, constant change. It can feel, well, impossible. But what if I told you there's a way to crack the code? That's what we're going to do today. We're going to build a kind of mental toolkit to help us understand the Jewish historical narrative. So, let's get into it.
And really, this is the first and honestly the biggest hurdle, right? When you're staring down a story this massive, where do you even start? It's not like picking up a single book. It's more like walking into a massive library and being told, okay, read everything all at once. But don't worry, there's a method to the madness.
I mean, let's just let that number sink in for a second. 3,000 plus years. We're talking more than 30 centuries of everything. Victories, devastating losses, migrations across continents, total transformations. It's a timescale that just dwarfs most other national histories we study.
And here's the thing, it's not just how long the story is that makes it so complex. This isn't the history of, say, one empire that stayed in one place. No, this is the story of one people, scattered all over the globe. I mean, from ancient Mesopotamia all the way to modern New York. And for a lot of that time, they didn't have a central address. So you can see why a simple timeline of kings and battles, well, it's just not going to cut it. It's not enough.
Okay, so if a simple timeline doesn't work, what does? We need a pretty crucial shift in how we think about this. We have to stop seeing history as just, a laundry list of facts and dates. Instead, we need to start seeing it as a story, a living, breathing narrative.
So what does that even mean? A historical narrative? Well, it's not just a dry record of what happened. Not at all. It's about the meaning a group of people gives to those events. It's the story they tell themselves about themselves. And that story is powerful. It's what shapes their identity, their decisions, both way back when and right now in the present.
This quote just sums it up perfectly. Think about it this way. Our job isn't just to be a detective, digging up facts. We also have to be a bit like a literary critic. We need to understand the plot, the characters, the big themes of the story being told. Honestly, this way of thinking is the key. It's how we can unlock a history that feels this complicated.
Okay, great. So if we're going to approach this whole thing as a story, how do we actually decode it? What are the tools that historians use to crack this code? It turns out it starts with a pretty straightforward two-step process.
Yeah, it really just boils down to two main steps. First, you got to break that enormous timeline into smaller, more manageable chunks. Historians have a fancy word for this. They call it periodization. And second, you follow the clues. You look at all the evidence that's been left behind, and you look at it from every possible angle. So here's what that first step, periodization, looks like in action. Instead of one giant, overwhelming 3,000-year block, historians break it down. They see four major eras, and you can almost think of them as chapters, each with its own central drama. You have the biblical era with its origins and kingdoms, then the rabbinic era, where new traditions were formed after a massive destruction. After that, the medieval era, which is all about life under other empires, Christian and Islamic. And finally, you get to the modern era, with all its promises of freedom and all its new, incredibly deep challenges. See, each one is a distinct chapter in this much larger story.
All right, so now for step 2, following the clues. Historians basically look at two kinds of evidence. On one hand, you have the internal sources. This is the story that people told about themselves. Things like the Hebrew Bible or rabbinic texts. But to get the full picture, you can't just stop there. You have to compare that with the external sources. What did outsiders write about them? What did Roman records say? Or what does archaeology tell us? When you put those two sides together, that's when you get a much richer, almost three-dimensional understanding of what was going on.
So, okay, when we actually use this toolkit, when we break up the timeline and we look at all the different clues, what does the story actually reveal? What are the big ideas? The sort of enduring threads that you can see weaving their way through all 3,000 years. Well, you start to see these big themes popping up again and again. There's this idea of a special relationship with God, what's called the covenant. Then there's this incredibly powerful bond of peoplehood, this sense of community that connects people all over the world. You see this constant tension, this pull between having a homeland and the reality of living in diaspora or exile. And, oh my gosh, the absolute importance of texts and debate, of law and interpretation. And finally, of course, this powerful theme of resilience, of just navigating persecution and finding a way to survive. And this is the really crucial point. These aren't just, topics you'd look up in an encyclopedia. They are the living, breathing questions that the story has been wrestling with for centuries. Questions like, what does it mean to be a people? How do we relate to God? How do we survive? The story, in many ways, is the ongoing argument about these very questions.
But look, this isn't just some dusty academic exercise. Not at all. Understanding this ancient story and all the arguments happening within it, it's incredibly relevant for us today. This is about so much more than just the past.
And that's the real value of looking at it this way. When you understand the structure of the narrative, those core themes we talked about, like covenant, diaspora, peoplehood, you get this powerful new lens to see the world through. It helps you make sense of what's happening today in culture, in identity, in global events, and not just for Jewish people, but for understanding how history and community work everywhere.
Because ultimately, history isn't really over, is it? It's a continuous story, and every single generation adds a new chapter. It gets written and rewritten. And when you see history as a narrative, you're reminded that this story is still going on right now. Which of course leaves us with one final, pretty big question: what will our chapter be?